flow and the data operating model of resolving data quality concerns. Now, just before I go into these chevrons, I also wanted to mention that data quality is not just about data quality concerns like DCRMs that are logged in. It's also about putting data under governance. So let's discuss a little bit at a high level what it means to have data under governance. If you think about a report like FR 2052A, are you at all familiar with this report?
Actually, I just know the terminology over here, but like I'm assuming at this department it has like a specific means.
No specific meaning. Like this is a report that is required by the Fed for any organization, any bank, and it has. I will have it on my to-do list, quite at the bottom there, but it's on my to-do list, and I hope to get to it. To look at the instructions on 2052A so that I can get more familiarized with what information does it have. But at a high level, it's all the information on the balance sheet grouped into different products, and it shows you what balances you have, like for deposits, so then you can. It's like the most comprehensive liquidity report from which data is further taken to produce the metrics like liquidity coverage ratio, which you probably heard of, or NSFR, ILST, like the stress test liquidity reports. So FR 2052A, like I said, it's the most comprehensive collection of liquidity information for a company.
Yes. Do you want me to try that?
Go ahead.
I mean, do you want me to try that? It's just to mention it's on the bottom of your list. Maybe I can make a draft or something for you, just to reduce some work for you.
Let's think about that later, because I don't even know how to approach it. It's like, I was hoping to get some time to just go on Google and just educate myself on, understand better how the report is structured. But I have never really seen the report.
I see.
I don't. So it's not public information.
I see. Okay.
But it's like, I don't know, like 4,000 lines, like an Excel like that. I just, I wanted to, and if you have some time, you should also like Google the instructions for 2050 days to get like a better sense of what is it, what kind of information does it have.
Okay.
Okay. So in order to produce this report, you need some data elements. A ton of data elements that go into this report. Of these multitude of data elements, there is a scoring system that tells you which ones are critical data elements, also known as CDEs.
Yes.
And we have determined collectively that we have about 840 something. I think it's 848 the last time I checked. 808 critical data elements that we need to make sure that are brought under governance.
Okay.
So bringing this under governance means making sure that they come from authorized data sources, because you can imagine a big company as Citi has so many systems from the front office where the trade or the action is collected, all the way into the reporting. There are a ton of databases, data manipulation, packaging, you name it. It's just, it's a lot of travel that happens through Citi systems.
Okay.
So, and the 2052A comes from GLRS, Global Liquidity Reporting System. Okay. So all the 848 CDEs come from GLRS, but bringing them under governance means making sure that GLRS is collecting data for the CDEs from authorized data sources, also known as ADSs, or authorized distributors, ARs. ARSOR. ARSOR stands for Authorized Redistributor System of Record.
Okay.
Okay, so making sure the source is good. Then there are data quality rules that are written for the CDEs.
Okay.
But the complicated part, and I want to not get too deep into this, is that the CDEs are grouped into concepts, and the data quality rules sometimes are written at a concept level.
I see.
But you have rules that are binary, like at CDE level. Like, for example, GFCID, which is, actually I forgot what this stands for, but it's GFCID. What does it stand for? I should look it up.
Yeah.
But it's like an identification code.
I see.
I'm assuming from the customer, but I'll double check it.
Okay, thank you. Is it sort of like a matrix?
A GFCID?
Yeah.
No, it's like a social security number. It's just a number.
Okay.
An identification for the counterparty.
Okay.
So one of the data quality rules could be that GFCID should be only alphanumeric or just numeric. And if this rule is true 100% of the time, then you're great. But then if the rule is good only for your 90% of the population, then maybe that's not good. That doesn't meet the threshold. So there is this data quality scorecard that's produced.
Scorecard, okay.
And the consumer would observe this scorecard. And then see how does my data look like for the report that I'm producing.
I see. Okay.
But let me go over. With this high level background, let me try to go over these 10 chevrons.
Okay.
So at the top here, like I said, the data operating model, the way it was conceived in the beginning of the consent order, was that we are going to focus our efforts to remediate data and put data under governance for a set of prioritized reports, which are also known as Tranche 1.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the FR 2052A, Y9C, and 14Q.
Mm-hmm.
The Tranche 2 reports are here at the bottom. And then the use cases are basically a collection of products. And the prioritized use cases were 1 through 6.
Okay.
So in the first thing that is required to do in Chevron 1 is define use case. That means determine what are your reports that are impacted in which schedules. So for 2052A, there is one report.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually not as complicated as for others because, for example, for Y9C, for 14Q, there are a number of models that feed into this report. So you have to determine which ones are critical for this report. This is not the case for us.
Okay.
But still, you have to define what are your critical data elements.
Okay.
Critical data elements. Yeah. Then Chevron 2 is define risk reduction metric. This is something that we have not done very successfully because it's very hard to, and we're still working through that, to define what are the, how can we show that the report is more accurate as a result of us remediating all these data concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to define risk reduction metrics at the report level. And so far we have come up with a metric of showing how the report has changed.
Okay.
But, a metric means that you have a threshold, you have a goal, mm-hmm. and you're working towards that goal. So So that's very hard to do until the use case ends. And I'll go over soon on how use cases need to work and in order for us to adopt.
Okay.
But let me just, do you have any questions so far?
Actually, I do. So,
yeah.
So at the beginning, you mentioned we have come back to revisit the data many times. Do you have like more specific numbers, like how many times we have come back and revisit the data to make sure we can define the use case?
To define the use case?
Not to define the use case, like just getting to make sure they are the impact data.
Oh, the impacted report.
Yes.
So I was saying that one data concern can impact multiple reports. And there is an impact assessment done at the beginning when you discover the data concern, but this has to be revisited. There is not like a number of times that you just go back to it. There should be like there's no defined process, and actually that's part of the problem that we're having right now. We're trying to figure out what is a good way to design this so that there is a feedback loop, and you go back to that data concern and say, does it truly impact 2052A, NY9C, and I don't know, FIFIC 102? You know, once you know the root cause analysis, then you should go back and see that. But this process is not defined yet.
I see. Okay.
So you asked me how many times. I don't know. Maybe for some data concerns, multiple times. For some, never.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And one more question.
Yeah.
So for the use case over here, we just discussed like the use case of 1 to 6. But what's the rest of the stuff for?
Oh, this is just a matter of timing. Like in the up until May of 2024, we adopted things from use case 1 through 6, but now we're working our way through use case 7, 8, 9. So there is I don't have it here. There is a sequencing of when because you can't start with everything at the same time.
I see.
Or everything has to be done by 2027.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we just talked about the first two chevrons. Chevron 3 is identify priority data issues or data concerns. So this means that the report, the data consumers or report owners would submit their list of these are my critical. This is my list of CDs. These are the critical data elements that I only care about for my report. And if you know that, then you can also see what are the data concerns that are linked to this critical data elements. So the report owner would submit in Chevron 3 to FCDO the list of CDs and the list of data concerns.
Data, okay.
And then Chevron 4 is identify data requirements.
Okay.
I think this is the data quality rules that are attached to each of the CDs.
Okay. Do we have this own rules, or we just follow the guidelines for the CDEs?
Say again?
Do we have an own rule to making these requirements, or we just follow the CDEs? Like maybe some like data we need taking care just because like X, Y, Z, and also, or we just like follow the CDE rules to making this requirement.
The CDE rules. So identify data requirement. So data requirement means what do we? I shouldn't use we. What does the data consumer require from technology? The data consumer requires 848 CDs to be under governance.
Yes.
And they also require let's say, 160 data concerns to be remediated for use case 1 through 6.
I see.
So that's what they require. So chevrons 1 through 4 are submitted into there is elements of this chevrons that the consumer needs to participate in, but they are captured under the data consent order plan. So there are milestones for us owned by FCDO where it's their responsibility to show chevron 1 through 4.
Okay.
After 1 through 4, you start with actual remediation, because so far you just defined, what the problem is.
Yes.
Then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you actually fix the problem. So you see, like this 5, it kind of stretches over 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a little confusing because of the numbering, you would think that these are sequential, but they're not. Some of the activities happen in parallel.
Yeah.
So you could have remediation of data concerns, but at the same time you can have this activity 6, which is document data address and data at motion. What this means is documenting where your data is coming from.
Okay.
And what is the traceability? What is the journey of the data through these different systems, which is the traceability.
I see. Okay.
7 is designate this ADS, determine like which data, where should you collect your data from.
Okay.
Specify data models. This is actually the book of solution. FCDO would show us like how did they resolve the data concerns and how the CDs are put under governance.
Okay.
And Chevron 9 is evidencing to the consumer how they can trace their data through the systems. And if the data quality scorecard shows that there is a problem with a specific data element, then which system do you go to solve it?
Okay. So we have to check those 4 points exactly at the same time.
No, not at the same time. The timing is... There is a deadline for all of them to happen,
okay.
But you can think about it more agile. Like you can resolve a data concern and then, start with another one and be completely done. Once you're done with the data concern, you can actually start validating, that the changes is okay to be implementing, meaning that it doesn't break anything else. Like, for example, if the deposits were coming in without data from a certain system, and there was an adjustment that was put there before, and which was fixed. So that, let's say that now the source is fixed and you get your data correctly, you have to make sure that you remove that adjustment so you don't double count that population.
Okay.
Do we have to be part of this meeting? Oh, Jumila's office hour. Should we go there or no?
No. This one is not. It's just like optional meetings for interns. We just if we have a question, we're gonna go ask her. So that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So these are the at a very high level the chevrons, but I think if you have time,
yes,
it would be really good for you to look at the official guidance from FCDO.
FCDO.
Give me a second so I can find it. Yeah, I think you should look at this official guidance that tells you details for each of the chevrons.
I see.
Did I send you?
Let me check. Yep.
So this is their official. Tell me if you don't have access to the SharePoint. We definitely need to get you used to that.
Okay.
So these are more detail about each of the chevrons, so you can spend a good amount of time here.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I also try to read through this whenever I get a chance. The system is not like, how should I say this? Data operating model is not a perfect operating model.
I see.
And we're having a lot of issues, filling in the gaps where they are, and there is like a not perfect communication between the technology team, the people who remediate the data concerns, people who prioritize, and the consumer.
I see. Is this model is our own model or is a standardized model?
Standardized.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Because CDO sits at the top of the house. Remember what I was trying to explain at the beginning of the meeting, that you have CDOs, CDO at the top of the house, and then you have FCDOs underneath it. So the overall guidance for CT data is provided by CDO.
I see. Okay.
So I've been in, this is how I spend a lot of my time. I've been in a ton of meetings with these people, just trying to figure out how to perfect the model so we can actually use it.
Okay.
But I want to leave you with this. This is another attempt. Maybe a good slide deck for you to read.
Yeah.
This is somebody from CDO attempting to do a better job at streamlining how we're prioritizing data concerns, how we're remediating them. So he was showing here, like, identify the change, intake, assess the impact, prioritize, plan, and implement. So I'll give you this deck to read through. Okay. I just had this meeting last week, and I think we're going to have a couple more. So see, this is where we are.
I see.
GLRS. Yeah. What else I wanted to show you? Just 1 second. I'm so not good at showing things like when I'm in a meeting. I always lose myself or finding documents. So just to finish up on this thing,
okay.
I wanted to leave you with this understanding that there is a data plan that has a list of milestones that are owned by FCDO, and that there is a finance plan that has another list of milestones. Some of them are liquidity milestones, some are capital milestones that we own. So my boss is the milestone owner for liquidity 250, 251, 252, and 253. And these are adoption milestones. So what this means is that we have to show to the Fed that we have incorporated these changes that were made to, or these remediations that were done to data concerns into our report. And as a result, our FR 2052A report is now more accurate or more timely or, better. But I wanted to leave you with this thought that there is a dependency. Like we cannot adopt unless the data is remediated.
Yeah.
And that's what I was, part of my job is to manage this flow of data concerns.
Okay.
So if we just look at wave 1 through 6 here, the milestones that I was talking about, Chevron 1 through 4, that are owned by FCDO, are definition milestones. Define scope, risk reduction targets, data quality concerns. So this happened for use case 1 through 6. They were supposed to be done with and they were done with definition in 2022. Now, ignore the 7, 9, and 19. Let's just go down to after definition, they remediated the data. So if you look here at use case 1 through 6 wave 1 report, this happened from October 3rd, 2022, all the way to April 30, 2024. So they remediated data that they defined. And now the last step is adoption. So of these data concerns, whatever was remediated up to July 30, 2023, is part of the fin liquidity 250 adoption milestone. So just going back a little bit, in the beginning, in definition stage, there were how many? 110. If we just look at data concerns identified by 2052A. Now, there is other data concerns that were identified by the other Tranche 1 reports, which are Y9C and 14Q, that also impact 2052A, and those were 851. So I make a distinction between these two sources. One is we identify them in GLRS, and those were 110. And then the other ones were identified by other report owners, and somebody said that, it might impact 2052A as well. So you define them, and remember in Chevron 3, we said you prioritize them. So of these 110, only 65 were prioritized for 2050, that were submitted by liquidity. And of the 851, 233 were prioritized. Of these 233 that were prioritized, they determined that only 131 actually impact 2052A. So now we have this population of data concerns that we think that we need to adopt. How many of these 65 plus 131 have been delivered or remediated before July 31st? It turned out to be, this is an outdated deck, but it was 30. It was 10 for 2052A and 20 for the other submitters.
I see.
And we adopted all of them. And that's why we're showing the milestone closure. And then here to the right, I'm showing a schedule of when the remaining ones are scheduled to be remediated. And like I said, I put this together like in my first couple of weeks on the job because I wanted to have a map of what do I need to do.
Nice.
And it, my boss really liked it because he thought, that this is great. But what I didn't realize at the time is that this is a good way to think about it.